That's that. Whatever. Like,
no,
for
that's not an answer to a question.
Let me finish.
You're not a 12-year-old.
Let me finish my sentence. That is to me whatever, because for me and my community, trans women are women. They have always existed. They will always continue to exist.
What does that mean? They've existed.
Well,
no one's saying they're figments of imagination.
Yeah, but we are saying that they're women.
No, saying they exist is not the same as saying.
Some debates reveal far more than the issue they're supposed to be about. In this exchange, you'll watch Virgin Radio presenter and non-binary activist Shivani Dave join Julia Hartley-Brewer to discuss one of the most consequential legal decisions on the definition of sex in recent years. After the UK's Supreme Court unanimously ruled that the legal meaning of woman refers to biological sex, the conversation quickly shifted away from the ruling itself. Rather than addressing the court's reasoning directly, Dave likened the decision to Germany in the 1930s, condemned it as deeply dangerous, and eventually said the discussion had triggered a panic attack. Before we roll the clip, take a moment to support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you never miss another breakdown. With that said, let's get straight into it.
I am delighted to welcome back Shivani Dave. She's a journalist and broadcaster. You do a Friday night show on our sister broadcasting station at Virgin. And it's lovely to have you back in the studio. Last time you were here, you were a bit cross with me, and it went rather viral because I referred to you as she and her because you are a woman. You identify as, I believe, non-binary. You prefer the pronouns they, them. And
whichever one's the scariest.
You took me to task for using what I believe were your correct pronouns. Does that landmark ruling by the Supreme Court change anything for you?
Well, so first of all, thanks for having me, Julia.
Always welcome.
Lovely to speak to you. Friends call me Shiv, so Shivani, Shiv, whatever pronouns scare you the most are fine for me. And I kind of want to say, I wrote you something, because obviously this is a huge topic. So a few sentences, if you let me say what I want to say. In years to come, I believe this decision by the Supreme Court will be considered shameful. Women are, in my opinion, beyond description or categorisation. Women are funny, knowledgeable, powerful, strong, and in my experience with trans women, they're kind. Trans people are not your enemy, and women are marginalised within our society already here in the UK. Defining women by their sort of biological functions or their appearance has never helped any woman ever. Isn't that what the suffragettes were sort of fighting against in the first place? The ruling and this discussion entirety kind of is resulting in a distraction from the sort of disturbing reality that we're living through, which is the facts are the UK has an emboldened far-right population, our government is fueling a genocide, violence against women and girls has shot through the roof, and spoiler alert, it's not because of trans women. The LGBT community is most likely to experience abuse, addiction, homelessness than the straight community, and within that, those who suffer the most are women. They are trans women. These are women who make me personally feel safe. They're the ones that I want to dance with at 2 a.m. in the morning and watch football with on a Sunday afternoon. The law can define a woman however it wants. You can call whoever you want, whatever pronouns you want, but what are you really going to do? Are you going to make people cis or trans carry ID with them so that they have to prove who they are? Because to me, that sounds like 1930s Germany. If I were to call this out for the BS that it is, and if I were to swear on air, I would be in more trouble personally than any bigoted politician or presenter that has ever played a part to further marginalise this already vulnerable community. Right. Despite the years and even decades that some broadcasters have dedicated to violent, hateful dog whistles about communities that bring so much joy and happiness and creativity to the world and this country, I just think that the people who are celebrating this with their bottles of champagne are going to look back, or hopefully we are going to look back at them and think that it's actually quite dark and quite disturbing that what they are celebrating is a separation of vulnerable people from society who are not going to be able to access the services that they need to access.
Right. I mean, okay, there's a lot to unpick there. Are you including me, just out of interest, in the vile and hateful dog whistle broadcasters? It's
a self-ID situation. If you feel you sit into that...
No, well, I don't, obviously, because I've not been hateful about anyone who's trans or... Do you? I'm asking you.
It's not for me to put you in a category.
It's not for you. Okay. Right, here we go. Right, you say it's shameful. You think this in the future will be regarded as shameful. I mean, you obviously think it's shameful now. And trans activists, many of them argue it is. Right?
I'm not a trans activist. I'm just a person.
But I'm talking about many trans activists. I wasn't including that. When you say women are beyond description and categorisation, well, no, I mean, that's like saying, well, a table or a dog is beyond description and characterization. We have words, and words are only useful as an ability to communicate between human beings because we all agree what those words mean. So if I hold up this navy blue mug and say that's orange, and use one of those, we have to be using words that have the same meaning. It's navy blue. So when I say it's navy blue, then you have to understand that as the same thing as I understand that. Otherwise, it's a meaningless conversation. So when we have a conversation about what is a woman, we need to all know what we mean by that. Now, it's your view and the view of many activists, I'm not saying you are, and many activists, that women has a number of different categories. People who were born women and are women, and men who believe that they are women or have a piece of paper saying they are women. The Supreme Court was very, very clear. They're saying not only is the law now, they're saying it has always been the case that because you have a piece of paper, even a piece of paper, a gender recognition certificate, saying that you are legally a woman if you're born a man, you are not in fact a woman. Do you not accept that, or do you accept that ruling?
I mean, like, that's whatever. Like,
no, that's not an answer to a question.
Let me finish.
You're not a 12-year-old.
Let me finish my sentence. That is, to me, whatever. Because for me and my community, trans women are women. They have always existed. They will always continue to exist.
What does that mean? They've existed.
Well,
no one's saying they're figments of imagination.
Yeah, but we are saying that they're women.
No, saying they exist is not the same as saying they're women.
Well, I'm saying that they're women.
And that's not the same as saying they exist.
If the law doesn't want to...
we need to use words that have meaning.
Well, here's the words that have the meaning, because I've spent time to write these words, right, for you.
And we listen to them.
Frankly, I would rather share a bathroom with 100 trans women than one legal biological woman who wants to know what's inside my pants. And Julia, if I'm right in remembering, you did ask me what my genitals look like once live on TV.
I think that was in the context of a conversation and you raised that issue yourself.
I remember the quote. You don't have dangly bits, do you? So do you want to discuss dangly bits or not? Because frankly, I am now feeling in a position where I'm in a room with you and I feel unsafe. Yeah.
You feel unsafe?
I feel unsafe. I feel my heart racing. My hands are starting to sweat. Do you want to touch my hand? Just clammy now. And I actually think I'm about to have a panic attack from sitting in a room with you. So I'd like to leave now. What? Yeah.
So you're feeling... Yeah, you were asked to come on the show to have a conversation.
And I've had a conversation.
We had a very nice...
We've had a conversation.
Well, you read out...
So that's the exchange in full. And it highlights what happens when a long-held political narrative runs into an unfavourable legal ruling. The UK's Supreme Court didn't rewrite the law or introduce a new policy. It unanimously interpreted the Equality Act 2010 and concluded that, for the purposes addressed in the case, the legal definition of woman is based on biological sex. That was the court's decision and it became the central point of the debate. Rather than responding to the court's legal reasoning, Shivani Dave shifted the discussion in another direction. The conversation moved toward broader claims about identity, accusations that the ruling was deeply harmful, comparisons to Germany in the 1930s, and eventually the announcement that continuing the interview had triggered a panic attack. As Julia Hartley-Brewer pressed for direct answers, the legal arguments behind the judgment remained largely untouched. The striking part of the interview wasn't simply the disagreement over the outcome. It was that the reasoning behind the ruling itself was never meaningfully challenged. There was no detailed attempt to explain why the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Equality Act was legally flawed. There was no alternative reading of the legislation offered, and there was little discussion of how redefining the legal category of woman in a broader way would continue to protect the sex-based rights the act was designed to safeguard. Instead, the exchange became dominated by emotion and symbolism. The conversation escalated to historical comparisons, sweeping moral claims, and finally an abrupt departure from the discussion. Throughout it all, the same basic question remained unresolved. If words in legislation no longer have fixed definitions, how can laws designed to protect specific groups be applied consistently? When Julia asked what a woman is, the response returned to the assertion that trans women are women. That position was repeated, but it wasn't developed into a legal argument addressing the court's conclusions. What this discussion ultimately illustrates is how difficult the debate has become now that legal institutions are weighing in after years of political and cultural arguments. For a long time, many organizations, media outlets, and public bodies accepted certain ideas with relatively little scrutiny. Once those ideas encountered a judicial interpretation that reached a different conclusion, the disagreement shifted away from legal analysis and toward questions of fairness. discrimination, and identity. For the women behind the legal challenge, the judgment represented a long-sought clarity about how sex-based protections should operate under existing law. For those who opposed the ruling, it represented a significant setback. Regardless of where viewers stand, one thing is clear: the Supreme Court has now provided its interpretation of the law, and that judgment will shape future debates unless Parliament chooses to change the legislation. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below.